And to take a look at how the race impacts the Central Valley is Eyewitness News reporter Will Silverstein.
And Will, there were a lot of issues covered in the debate, but one in particular was left off until the very end. Which one was that?
Well, Rochelle, we really saw a lack of conversation focused around energy, and at the end of the debate, we saw a return to that conversation with Republican VP pick J.D. Vance. However, that conversation was really only focused on climate change and energy costs, not so much the industry and its workers, important to both the Central Valley and, of course, lots of voters in Pennsylvania. To discuss this, we have Tim Rosales, political strategist from the Rosales Agency, and UC Merced political science professor Nathan Monroe. Professor, to you first, what did you make of that lack of focus on energy workers tonight?
Well, I thought, it obviously is an issue that, isn't a strong talking point for the sort of kind of polarization that they're looking for in the debate. It doesn't play well, I think, for either campaign in a sense. And, so while this campaign, I think, was marked by a lot of really sort of straight ahead conversation, right? It just, it wasn't something that I think made for a good talking point, and I think they stayed away from it.
And then, Tim, over to you on this question, too. I mean, what did you make of this conversation, especially because it's more pivotal in California and maybe a congressional race versus where it is in Pennsylvania, which is definitely the presidential race, as that's a major state for both candidates to win.
Pennsylvania is a huge state for both candidates to win, and it may be the most pivotal state for most candidates to win. So when you're talking about an issue like energy, that goes right at the heart of what Pennsylvania voters care about, and also talking about things like American jobs, which, as you mentioned, that J.D. Vance is off to Michigan. And so talking about American jobs obviously is very critically important, to those voters. I think by and large, Vance did what he set out to do, which is to, communicate to those voters that they really need to win, and he needs to convince and move any of those folks in some of those critical swing states that might still be in the middle, away from the middle and over to the Trump Vance ticket. Certainly that's what he was trying to do. We can argue about whether or not he was successful with that. I think Walz on his side needed to really do no harm, and he didn't necessarily have to win this debate, but he had to maintain kind of a level set that the Harris and Walz ticket has, and be able to move forward out of this debate, as I said, doing really no harm.
And Professor, what did you make of J.D. Vance's performance tonight? I know there's a stark contrast between himself and his running mate at the top of the ticket, former President Donald Trump, especially in that delivery that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably he potentially makes up the most ground here, right? Because he offers a contrast. So if the question is, can you move the needle, right? And whether that moving the needle is bringing people out to vote that might have stayed home, or maybe changing a few minds, right? Like, in some ways you might see this as kind of the two-pronged attack, right? Trump is going to bring out those voters that feel really passionately, and to some extent are much more polarized. Vance sort of is the counterpoint to that, where he looks measured, he looks more policy kind of, specific. He looks capable of a conversation that is more kind of, working across the aisle to an extent. There's a number of times, right, where you hear him say, "Well, I agree," or "I think that the governor agrees with me," trying to sort of, I think, make the case here that, look, this administration can be both things, right? And that's the signal that Vance is trying to send. And so, I think to the extent that that's the goal, and to the extent that that's a successful strategy, I think he played it very well.
All right, very quickly to each of you here, starting with Tim, what is the takeaway that the Walz-Harris campaign has to do? What do they need to hammer home in these last few weeks?
Kamala Harris has to have a definable policy. I think this is not just about personality, although they want to make it personality. It's going to be about issues. And in order to get over the hump, Walz and Harris have got to talk about issues and define where they are on some of those more, because right now, Vance and Trump are kind of outpacing them on that.
And Professor, very quickly to you for this last thing, what is this issue to hammer home for the Trump campaign?
Well, I think the Trump campaign's got to try to take those votes that they've been trying to take all along, which is working class, even sort of labor-related middle America, right? They've got to convince those voters that the Vance Trump campaign, the Trump Vance ticket, are going to be the party of labor, of middle class, of lower middle class America, especially in the Rust Belt and some of those pivotal swing states.
All right, thank you both for joining us this evening. We'll have some more coverage tonight at 11 p.m. on KBAK CBS with former Kevin McCarthy comms official Brittany Martinez. But for now, Will Silverstein, Eyewitness News.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Murcia with Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on YouTube. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel where we have tons of great content to choose from. While you're here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button right there. That way you can stay up to date on all the things related within Kern County. Thanks for watching.